Welcome back, everybody. It's Reclaiming America.
And again, you bastard.
And Dan is laughing, so it must be time for a new session.
Right.
I'm Bill Moore.
I got my duck face on.
It ain't working.
Yeah, my name's Dan.
You're
Sorry.
Dan.
My name is Dan. Welcome back to
You
the
got
show.
a cue card for his name, we're in trouble.
Yeah,
I can tell you right now.
Just so you know, I've had the equivalent of about 15 cups of coffee this morning. So
Sorry about that. Personal
trouble.
issues are not a problem.
You're
on a roll.
Because call me butter, I'm on a roll. Oh. I'll be here all day.
2/3 of a pun, PU.
There we go. So
here we are with another
exciting
week with so much to talk about in so little time.
I think I'm serious. We're going to have to start doing like multiple shows a week.
We meant to be doing them every day. We just sit here and just wait for the news to come in and go out. It's just amazing.
Non-stop lately with all the various things. I don't know where to start. Where would you like to start?
I would like to start with the thing that's bothering me the most of everything. Well, there's a bunch of things, but we'll start with the poor little girl, the unwanted.
Oh no.
Yes, the unwanted grandchild of the President of the United States, who insists he's got 6 when he remembers them. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 3. They give him the age, he has no clue. But he does have 6.
Ooh, did I say that out loud?
He does says he has 6. Unfortunately, the law says he has 7 because his son was messing around with a young lady, and he's denied the woman for 4 years, and they're in court now because they forced him to be there. And the DNA test has come out and proved that it be his. And
Amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Can you imagine, and I'm taking it from a very different viewpoint, the Bidens are what the Bidens are. Think about that 4-year-old. That little girl has been denied on national television by the President of the United States of America and the First Lady. They've denied this kid's existence. She's marked. For the rest of her life, she will be known as, I use the word, the bastard grandchild.
Unfortunately, you're right.
And it's not fair. She's a cute little kid.
Actually,
if you did the crime, you need to do the time. Admit you're a father, get her into the family, and deal with it. So I'm not happy with how they're treating this young woman, or this young child, actually a 4-year-old.
Let's go with it. I'm listening.
And I am just livid that someone supposedly who cares about children and cares about families is allowing this child to be ridiculed on a national level for no damn good reason. And you're just enjoying every minute of this, aren't you?
I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Okay, so anyway.
Go for
it. That's my opening.
The problem is I agree with everything you're saying. I have nothing to disagree with you on, so you keep going.
Well, I got my point now. So what needs to happen now is the Bidens need to come out on the air and welcome this child into their home.
Greta's having to turn the mics down. You're so loud.
and bring this child in and bring her into the family. Have her and the mother maybe in for Christmas or dinner. But let this child...
And the mother.
You can't bring the kid for Christmas and not bring the mother. Ed Hunter doesn't have anybody he's hooked up with legally. So it's not an issue there.
The day I have Christmas dinner with my first ex-wife will be the day hell freezes over.
Your decision. But the child needs to be brought into that family.
Absolutely.
And the child needs to not go through the ridicule. I mean, they all decide, it's been a tradition in this nation that kids and family of sitting senior people in our government are off limits.
Yes,
this child is not off limits. She's a target right now because of what they're doing.
Well, that changed with Trump's kid. What's his name? Barron.
Barron was put into some pain.
That's true. Unwritten rule, kind of went out the window with him. Started to.
That's not because, according to the newspapers, which are all leftist to begin with, there are no rules unless they make them up.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my opening bid on what's going on here today. Then if you wanted me to go on a roll, I'm
go for it.
My second bid is the United States Air Force.
I'll have a little drink. Go ahead.
It came out.
Brett is cracking up too, just so you know.
The Air Force came out this week, and they admitted to the fact that they've been taking their cadets at the Airforce Academy and training them on words that are not appropriate. These words include terrorist, mom, and dad.
Mother and father.
Just enough said about that right off the beginning. They're training someone that your mother and father is not. You can't call them mom and dad. There's a problem somewhere. This goes right back to what I said the other day. Whenever there's a problem, you bring out the clowns to defer everybody. Washington is nothing but clowns. I can't wait to see what's behind the problem behind this one. So the clowns are out, their face makeup is on, and they're on a roll. Anyway, hi, Dan.
Welcome back to Reclaiming America.
We're common sense solutions in a quiet, logical way.
We're here to listen to Bill rant. I'm having a ball with this. I'm sure our listeners will too. And it's not mothers anymore, Bill. It's ready for this one? A new one I heard.
I heard it. Go ahead.
Which one?
The one about sperm carrier versus the egg carriers.
Well, that one. No, there's another one. Chest feeders.
Chest,
Chest feeders was one I heard earlier this week, and I went, okay. No more mothers. They're now chest feeders. It's like, I know, when you think they can't get any worse.
Just when you think they've hit the basement, they open up the subfloor.
They're on the 7th level of hell right now.
Dante would be impressed.
And here comes
They even
Henry.
brought back our leader.
There he is. Yeah, when I heard that one, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then there was another one for the guys. It's escaping me. It'll come to me. But that chest feeders was really good. I give him credit for inventiveness. Stupidity, but inventiveness.
You know what? We need to get to the point we got to ignore these idiots. When 1% of the country is creating havoc for 99.
See, I'm going to disagree with you there. We can't ignore them. We need to push back on them.
Same difference.
No, because we've been ignoring it for 10 years now. PCism started what, in the 90s, early 2000s, right?
That's
political correctness. And we all sat back and said nothing. Oh, it's no big deal. It's fine. It's, let them have their. And we kept quiet for 20 years. And look at where we are now. The word woman has been erased from the English language. The word mother is being erased.
By the very feminists who
fought for the women's
rights to have equal rights up and down the line. It's fascinating.
2 old white guys who are somewhat right-leaning
and identify as men
are fighting for women's rights. Who'd have thunk it, right? I mean, where are the women's groups on this?
Are there any women left in the groups out there?
I question women these days. The average woman. I'm looking at our producer because she happens to be one. And I sit there and go, why are they staying silent? Because they are. I mean, you don't hear much from the women's groups at all about this.
Well, that's because Trump hasn't come out yet. We'll let Trump come out. They'll be around all over again.
If Trump were to declare that all women are now to be known as chest feeders, it would change tomorrow.
Oh, there wouldn't be any room in the streets.
But the logic behind it all, and where we as a society, the common people, those of us who are normal thinking, I know I'm going to get slammed for saying it that way, but I'm sorry. If you are going to erase the word woman or mother and replace it with chest feeder or any womb carrier and all this other egg donors, no, you are not in the right of mind.
And the rest of the world looks at us like we're crazy, and we are if we're letting this
They're
happen.
right.
We are.
I mean, China's got to be laughing at us right now. I mean, the military can't handle the word mother or father.
Or terrorist.
Terrorists. I play devil's advocate and give them that one. I don't agree with that, but I'm trying to be nice here. I'll give them like a 1/1,000,000th of a percent okay on that one.
You're being generous.
I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be generous because I think it's idiotic. But
mom and dad.
Mom and dad, come on. Next to be apple
dear
pie.
egg donor and dear sperm donor. I would like to tell you how my weeks are going at base camp. Or basic.
Apple pie will be eliminated next. Mom, dad, and apple pie.
And the flag. Well, they've already done that.
Well, they've already worked.
They're
I was
working
going
on
to
the
say,
flag
they're past that one.
That's unfortunate.
You look at this whole scenario. We talk about it all the time now.
Yeah, but what bothers me, what's going on that we don't know about if we're talking about that? Because they're like magicians. If the left hand's got you looking this way, the right hand's doing something else.
Exactly right. They put out certain things to deflect from what they're actually doing.
Yep, and I don't know what that is yet. We won't know for a while, and I'm afraid to find out.
If this is the not so bad thing, God help us with the bad thing that they're doing behind our back.
And the Air Force just is in the process of putting out a series of drag.
Oh, let's get into it was the Army, my friend.
I believe
My Army friends here.
I don't recall
here we
it being
go.
the Army. But
I had this one ready to go in my mind because I was going to surprise you with it. So the Army is now having a trans spokesperson.
Yes, I heard about that. I thought it was Air Force, though.
I thought it was Army.
Well, one of us is wrong, so I'll accept your apology.
Don't worry, it'll be both pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever military. Even the Coast Guard. Who's the real military? What are they thinking?
They're not. It's more important the one thing that in the past, the military has been exempt from all the social
Right.
testing, if you want to use it, or the social. They said, no, we don't mess with the fighting force. Unfortunately, we're having the fighting force collapse around us because the people, the men and women that are there to do the job are getting disgusted and walking away.
So let me call on your expertise.
All right,
In this
ready,
matter.
you're on.
And hers, because
She's the expertise.
She's far more expert than you are,
Thank you, sir.
because you're old. Whatever military branch, doesn't matter. Just in general, the military. Would you agree that the people that would actually do the fighting, not the officers sitting, behind the lines and all that, the actual grunts on the ground?
Time. The officers are with the men.
No, they're not.
I don't know what army you've been in. The lieutenants are out there leading
The
the platoons.
lieutenants.
And
Where are the
that's-
generals?
That's the lieutenant general is a series of officers.
I knew this was
And at
gonna
the
go.
highest level you go. You want to jump in there, producer?
I got them.
Earth are you talking?
I'm talking about the high-ranking officers.
They get killed like
Oh, they need no.
When the division is going in and there's a 2-star running it, that general is in his headquarters,
He's
which is
on the
part of
front
that
lines in
movement.
the trenches.
By the way, there is no front anymore.
Well, we're getting into semantics now.
Okay, there is no front. You're
Let me
surrounded
finish my question because I knew this was going to fire you up. I've been
You've been waiting for a week for
I
that.
have so much fun with these two.
Go ahead, sir.
So, the people that do the actual fighting and dying,
Getting worse.
would you say that they're left-leaning or right-leaning for the most part?
Right.
For the most part, they lean toward the center right.
Center right. So would you put it at, I'll throw a number out, 70 to 80% probably in that area?
Roughly.
Yeah, it's
Ballpark.
a number.
I mean, it's
a reasonable number
it's a
with
real-
no
okay.
actual surveys. That's
Again, I'm
reasonable.
calling on your expertise.
That's reasonable.
Okay,
So,
most
if you're
militaries
trying-
come from the south, the Midwest.
Right.
So,
You should be using your mic because we got one. The reason I'm mentioning that is that's who they're trying to recruit. They're not trying to recruit a lieutenant colonel to join the army. Somebody to come in and be a lieutenant colonel right off the bat. It doesn't work that way. Correct? Unless you're a doctor, probably.
Well, there is recruiting going on for ROTC. There's recruiting for
Right, but they're
for
coming-
the service schools.
So if they go to a college, say, and they're recruiting, that person's going to go into the branch at what rank?
Second lieutenant.
Right. Not a high rank.
The
That's
bottom,
my point.
the
Right.
lowest level you can be.
Right. That's my point.
Butterball,
So,
as we used to call them.
knowing that,
Butter bars, not butterballs.
and knowing that those
That's a turkey. That would be him.
Oh dear God! See, I like to stir the pot because it makes for great video, but then they
So
go
butter
off on
bars.
tracks. Butter bars.
Butter bars.
Okay. Why would you try and recruit for that level by having a trans person speak when most of the ones doing the fighting lean right?
Well, first of all, in the case of the people at that level, they're going through training, 4 years of college training. They're going to, if they went through our, if they
Forget
went through
officers.
the
I'm
academy,
talking your private.
that's who you're recruiting for with the recruiting stations around the nation.
Correct. And
That's
now-
where that's happening.
That's who they're targeting with recruiting for the most part.
Agreed.
All right. And they're leaning right
Hopefully.
for the most part.
Except a lot of the right leaning are leaving.
My point being, who are you trying to recruit? The far left wokesters to fight in your military? That's my point. I mean, I was having a little fun getting them fired up because, man,
You
it's
know,
enjoyable.
But almost,
you get my point, though?
knowing people in the military as I do, if you decided to be a drag queen in the military, which would make an interesting picture, I think I would.
I already did
probably-
that last week, remember?
Yeah, but you didn't have the right outfit on. You didn't finish it. You only had the hair.
That sounded like a dare.
I dare you.
Oh, be careful,
I
my
double
friend.
dare you.
Oh, be careful.
Okay. There's an old thing about there are no atheists in a foxhole.
Right.
As long as the person next to you can handle their job, in the military, we're good with that. I mean, if you want to show up and go out and fight with us, and then the weekends you want to put your dress on and go downtown, we may not like it, but we don't care. It's your issue.
Okay.
As long as you can pull in whatever we're doing, foxhole in a tank, firing artillery, flying a plane in the Navy, you know, going below sea level, which is their averages. But
I already got us in enough trouble with the military. Don't take it
But-
any deeper.
the point of the matter is, we're used to
That was
dealing
fun.
with diversity and what. So I don't really care. As long as the person next to me in that damn foxhole does his or her job, I'm good with
And
it.
can do the job.
Well, doing it means you can do it. But there are differences because, you know, certain men and certain women can't do certain things. That's the way it is.
Put your hand there. There. I'm gonna get you even more fired up. I don't know why.
Go ahead.
I'll come up with something. I just have fun.
Anyway,
I love getting them going about the military. It just
Yeah, well, as someone who's always able to watch from the outside,
go ahead, keep
No,
going.
I'm not-
No,
I'm
so
fine with it.
but you get my point with all of that. I mean, what are they're trying to recruit, right? Recruitment's down. I heard in some cases
20% better,
it's 20% better.
or 20% or better down,
Oh, I've heard even higher.
or lower. Depending on
Or
how you
low,
look
well,
at
yeah,
it.
depending which way you're looking. And I don't know if it's true or not. I heard the Marines were like 90% down on their targeted numbers. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea.
And I have not heard that. So I
But
don't
I
know.
mean, let's use your 20%. You think you're going to make up that 20% by having a trans person? I'm not knocking
No.
trans person.
No, and not only that, you're going to force more people to exit early.
That's my You're
And
going to
you're
lose.
going to end up increasing that number that you can't
Correct.
defend with.
Correct. I mean, lunacy.
And you know, you have to understand, and something that my partner over there understands, the military partner over there. So
Got her.
our military is trained with the understanding is they've got to go in and fight for 6 months and hold with the reserves backing them because there's nobody coming off draftee for 6 months to make it to the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So they know they have to be self-sufficient. The best help they might get is reserves or guard coming in with them. And very often they're actually part of the front line to begin with because of the way we've structured our forces.
I was going to say, isn't the guard normally called up immediately?
It depends on the topic. And
Yeah.
then behind them is
Well,
the
let's
the
say we
state
get
guard.
into it with China because that's the biggest possibility right now, potential.
I don't know after what happened in the Kremlin.
Are we going to? Yeah. Well, are we going to be putting a bunch of people in dresses and sending them over to Taiwan?
It depends what the
I
quartermaster
mean, we might
delivers.
beat China because they'd be too busy laughing at us.
Now, look, there's also been jokes for years about the people in the Philippines getting their snowsuits delivered because that's the way things happen, and vice versa. The tropicals have been sent to the Alaskan groups, and that just happens all the time. It's just the way it is. But no, we're not. But the problem you're having right now is I don't think we can defend ourselves the way we're going, and I'm really afraid about that.
I completely agree with you. I think there's a lot of
Mark
things.
that date
Yeah,
down.
well,
He
you know,
completely agrees with me.
I like getting you fired up too. 'Cause it's really fun for me, and it's fun for the listeners.
I don't get excited.
Oh, okay.
I try to
I
bring that
even
on my
got the
shell on a
producer ready.
regular
Like
basis.
she's still like ready to come at me. I could see she's gonna come over that table and take me out.
And I'll hold her while she does it. I'll hold you while she does it.
See, they don't realize that I deliberately get these little digs in sometimes.
You can. All
The
you
fighting force, you know, all that stuff.
Want. So what else is on your
Anyway,
mind
so let's-
aside
I
from
wanna finish my
insulting
thought on this.
the United
So-
States Army
For
and associates?
no, I did the whole military. I
Yeah,
didn't,
well, no. You have to understand. If you're from the Army, there are basically two branches: Army and support.
okay,
So you see, this she agrees again.
of course she does. I'm gonna get a Navy guy in here.
You have to talk slow,
I thought that was Marines.
slower.
First and oldest.
Which one's the crayon eaters? That's the Marines, right?
No, they don't know what to do with the credit. They put them in their ears,
Okay.
and that's what they think wax in their ears is. They put the crayons in.
But to kind of put a bow on this whole topic, as far as what the Air Force is doing in the academy and all that, it is starting to trickle down, and it's coming from up top, obviously.
And if it's in the Air Force, it's in
It's
West
in the-
Point.
I was gonna say.
It's going to be at the Naval Academy, and even the Coast Guard is going to do it. They will eventually figure it out.
And said, where does that leave us? Because there's a lot of threats on the horizon. I mean,
The world is definitely not safer.
no, and it's getting worse by the day. And our supreme leader,
He'll never be a leader.
the Twinkie down at the drugstore has got more brains than he does. So it is a very scary
The
situation.
4-year-old who he denies has more
Yeah.
brains than he has.
And
Back to the first story.
all right, we're going back there. Anything else you want to add? I'm gonna just want
Yeah, while we're playing around,
All right,
here,
let's do
let's
it.
talk about the Kremlin
the Kremlin
and
Taking Putin out?
the drone attack that they just went
that
through.
we supposedly did.
That maybe we did, and maybe it came out of our allies, or maybe it was Russian people trying to
Or
take
it was
out
the
Putin.
Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine. It could be Russian separatists trying
So
to
I
take out
happened
Putin.
to see one newscaster, and I want to say it was MSNBC, but don't hold me to that, saying, how dare the Ukrainians try and take out Putin? This is like a criminal act. And I'm sitting there going, they are at war. Who started the war?
But unfortunately,
Putin's fair game.
the victor gets to set the rules of the war and the trials from the war.
Yes, well, that's the way it's always been. But and that's how history's written too, by the victors, not the losers. But to sit there and, again, we're talking about the woke, to be offended. God forbid the Ukrainians try and take out the leader of the person that invaded them. I just sit there and go, I can't take this anymore. You can't reason with these people.
The question is who really did it. And unfortunately, thanks to the U.S.'s lack of credibility, first of all, we have brain dead in the White House, and you have liar talking at the press conferences.
Wow.
Not,
Tell us how you really feel.
and not even too bright a light. She's actually a little less brighter than
gonna get in trouble.
Biden. And you know how hard that is to get less bright than Biden? That woman had to go far to get there.
Oh, man.
She is a recording that says, I don't want to talk about that. I can't talk about that. Press this button over here. We're not allowed to discuss that. And yes, we will. We'll lie to you right up front, and you're going to believe this because you're woke. So aside from that, I don't want to really share much on that.
I think you're the one that had too much coffee today, not me. This is great. I'm having a ball. Let me postulate something. There's a word for you. Postulate.
I'm impressed.
Let's say that drone attack worked. Putin's now gone. Are we better off or worse off?
I'm not sure.
I'm like, that
We
could
could-
be a very scary situation.
There's an old line: the devil you know is better than the devil you don't,
Exactly.
and that
We
may
don't-
be a case here.
We don't know who replaces him. It could be someone far worse. It's like they talk about North Korea. If whatever his name is, I can't even remember.
Some dumb,
Whatever Kimmy is.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
some dumb.
He gets taken out. The one waiting in the wings is, I believe, a sister of his.
Yeah, and she is.
And she makes him look like
She's a wacko.
wire boy, So whoever did attempt to do this, if it was even attempted, I'm not sure I even believe that it was. I don't know. I that could be, again, I'm no fan of Putin. He's got to go. I'm not sure that's the best way to do it, and it's now a propaganda thing for them.
I think they really need to call the Vatican and talk to the bishops there. They have a much more subtle way of getting rid of popes, so they could just borrow that.
Oh, wow. So, all right, we've gone after the military. Now we're targeting religion.
Oh, as a Catholic, I can get away with that.
Well, I'm a non-Catholic, so I can
Get away with that.
really diss the Pope, although I tend to respect the dude.
I respect the position. Like there was an old thing in the army that we always used to say, with all respect to your rank and nothing to your person. That's when we talked to an idiot that was sitting in a position that you couldn't deal with. So it's with all respect to your rank, sir or ma'am, but none to your person. She knows exactly what was. And with all respect to you being a co-host and none to your person.
I could really get him going again, but I'll let it go.
Sir?
I will let it go. No. Anything else on this topic?
No, I just wanted to throw it out there and see what your thoughts are on who actually might have attacked Putin if it even happened.
I'm not even sure it happened.
Weren't there some evidence of drones being flown into the roof, as I remember?
Who's to say Russia didn't do it?
So that's the number of times you screwed up. I just want you to know that.
That's all?
Well, that she's counting. But anyway, I think we're getting to the point now where we probably have to just close this segment down with the various thoughts that you've had and the little trouble you've started with me. And you got me coming out of my shell finally and breaking out and telling people.
I do enjoy getting you going. It is so much fun for me. And then getting the producer going.
You guys both going.
Oh, Greta was ready to come across that table.
Yes, she was.
That's how I know it was right.
And, you were right.
To get you going.
Both of us being good swearing to the Constitution, We will defend to the death your right to be wrong.
Okay. Who actually runs the military? The NCOs.
Probably so.
That was right. There we go. Come on.
Probably so.
So
They're major implementers, whereas the planners are the officer crew. But they're out there in the same lines as everybody else at whatever level they are. You got me going again.
I know I do. It's like so easy
So-
sometimes.
All right, we're going to wrap this second segment up.
I got your back, sergeants.
Be careful. I'm not sure. I'm not going that way. Leave that one alone. But anyway, we'll be back with Reclaiming America. So just hang in there as we decide what next group we're going to rip up and take apart.
All right. See you in a couple minutes.
2.0. Welcome back, sir.
Welcome back.
I'm Bill Moore, and this is The Great Dan.
The Great Dan. I'll go with that. I'll put that on the list.
Or is that Great Dane? I'm sorry, I pronounce it. You have to be a little bit careful.
Scooby-Doo.
Where are you?
That would be my... Oh, wait. Scooby-Doo, did you hear?
I'm sorry, what happened to Scooby?
Oh, Scooby went woke.
You sure that wasn't Shaggy?
No, it was Thelma.
Oh, Thelma was always close. She was
Well,
not.
no, she's official now.
Oh, she's come out now?
She's come out now. Did
Nope.
you not hear this? This was
No,
a few
I
months
really-
back. Oh, yeah.
I really didn't pay much
Scooby-Doo
attention.
went woke. Yep. That's why nobody's watching it anymore. Go woke, go broke.
Well, every time they put out one
By
of
the
those
way,
flavors-
quick side note. Did you see the numbers on Budweiser?
Yeah, if they get any worse, the king of beer is about to
Did you
become
see
the Joker.
Fenway Park, the video?
No.
So, did you see it? Oh my God. So, Fenway Park, ball game. What do everybody do? They get a beer, right?
Right.
Even I drink a beer occasionally at a ball game. They show the Bud Light stand. There is not a person at it.
Good.
Right to the, I think it was the left of it. Huge line for whatever beer that was. I mean, the visual on that. They are done. So we said they were going to maybe come back a little. I have revised my thinking. Bud Light is
They
finished.
actually got rid of both of them, though. They
It's
finally got
finished.
rid of them.
There is
But,
nothing.
if
they
this
can
is
do
a
at this
lesson
point.
to the rest of them, then it's worth it.
I'm hoping it is. But that visual alone, it was mind-boggling.
No, the one that I liked, it was the foot with the big hole in it, and the
Oh, that
Budweiser shooting it that way.
And did you hear the other thing? You know what Bud Light's response is? How they're going to make
Regain
it
their-
better? They're going to send all their wholesale distributors a free case of Bud Light.
To stack with the other thousands
Because-
of cases they have in the back.
Well, that's exactly what people are saying is it's because they have so much beer and it goes bad after a while. Their only solution is to try and hand it away free, and they don't want it. If you can't even give away your beer at this point, remember they were number one by a mile
for decades.
for my lifetime. Just a quick side note: you got check that video. If you haven't seen it, I'll try and when I put the video up, put the show up, I'll try and put a link
up.
to it because that visual alone, they are done. There is no coming back. I mean, they'll survive, but they are done. They could come out right now and apologize. And thought that came up to me this past week. I don't think people are upset about them putting Dylan, whatever his last name is, on the can. That's not what people are upset about. They're upset about that marketing person and why she did it.
Yeah, that didn't help. It
I
definitely
think
didn't
if
help.
they had put that
was going to
can-
change the
Yeah.
people who drink the beer.
The insulting of the people who drink the beer.
As
That's
if to
where
say the
people are
very
pissed.
people that they want to bring up don't usually drink the beer.
No. I think, as I've kind of reflected on this and seen a few things, I think if they put that can out, there's a few people that'll go, I'm never drinking it again. But it's not going to be that big a deal. There's a lot of people that'll go, okay, it's okay. Because they've put flags on beers and all this stuff. It's because that woman was on a podcast and basically said, if you drink our beer, you're trash.
Well, not only that, they could have put the beer out in honor, if you will, for his 365 days or whatever it
Whatever.
was. But they didn't need to make him the spokesperson. That was also spitting in your eye right there. That
Well, it was, but even that, I don't think is the reason. I think it was the slap, literally they slapped him in the face.
Oh, yeah, when the woman got, first of all, the woman, she's in her 20s, so I don't know where she got into that position that quickly. And regardless of male, female,
It's
so much-
called DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion bill.
Oh, don't get me started on that one.
That's how she got in that position.
Don't me get you started on DEI. That we had another whole 2 shows there. But the fact of the matter is, she came in with her 20s view of the world in the little rose glasses.
Right out of Harvard.
And they're going to change who drinks the beer, as if to say all those people that are woke are going to suddenly start drinking Bud Light.
They're going to give up. They're going
First
to give
of all,
up
they're
their
having lattes
and
and they're
spritzers.
having whatever they're going to have. They're going to have the margaritas, and they're not coming into beer. That's the common guys and gals drinking that one.
Exactly. But I really started thinking about that after I saw the Fenway thing. I'm like, when you really sit back and think about it, nobody would have cared about who's on the can. I really don't think there would have been that big of a backlash. There would have been some, and it would have blown over by now.
Well, Kid Rock helped.
Oh, it was beautiful. And even so, there was a bar. Boy, this went totally off where we were going to go, but there was a bar who was pushing they were going to support Bud Light. And, if you didn't support them supporting Bud Light, don't come to our bar anymore.
And they didn't.
They're now apologizing and begging people to come back. You have woken the sleeping giant.
Nobody understands the economic power if we stick together and we
Bingo.
stand there with the values that we say these are acceptable. And if you as a company or you as a retail person will meet those values, we're coming to you. But if you want to stick something in our face, we can spend our money elsewhere.
We are going to slap your ass down.
Yeah, and we're gone, and we'll go someplace else, and we may
And-
not be back.
The thing is, these other companies that are out there need to take the lesson being taught here.
I am sure they're learning from Bud.
And they're waking up.
Yeah, they're starting to say maybe we don't want to go that far.
I just, we've talked about this before. I just hope this is the start of things. We talked about the Airforce Academy. Let's start a wave on that. No, we're not going to tolerate that. That's how we stop it.
The problem to change it, we need to change the leadership in the Pentagon, and that happens with a
that's
change in
what I was gonna
leadership
say.
in
The administration.
the White House.
Yeah, you can't change it till
Yeah,
that
because
happens.
he appoints the damn generals, and he's looking for generals who think it's more important for social issues than defending the country.
Speaking of the White House and social issues, can we
Yes.
talk the mortgage rate thing right now?
Why don't we do the mortgage
Because
rate?
we had a whole other plan. That's out the window right now.
Yeah, but
we'll come back to that.
We'll be around.
So, for those that don't know, as of when was the first Monday?
Yes.
There's now a new fee that was not put in place by Congress, by the way. It was an executive order. So now, if you have good credit, and I believe the number was 750 or better, you're
Yeah,
now
that's-
going to pay higher fees on your mortgage for FHA type loans and that kind of stuff, because they want the people with the good credit who've paid their bills on time, worked hard, done all that stuff, to give their money to the people who didn't pay their bills on time.
Would that be wealth redistribution?
That would be called socialism, yes.
Damn. What a.
I mean, there's been some outcry on this. But we should be screaming from the high heavens on this.
A lot of people will just not do Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac because that's where it's coming from.
It is, but a lot of people don't have a choice but to go that route.
Some will.
I do not have those loans, so my mortgage is not through that. But the numbers I've seen, I've heard various numbers, but it's anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 on a $300,000 to $500,000 home, which is the normal price of a home right now is somewhere around $300,000.
300,000, not $3,000 to $5,000.
300 to 500, yeah.
Okay.
And again, the argument they'll make is it's only a couple $1,000s.
Well, that's
Okay.
it's nothing more than they're going to pass it as a transfer tax.
It's still, yeah. What happened to we're not going to raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 because it ain't somebody making $400,000 taking an FHA loan out.
No, they're not. That's
It's
the
the-
guy that just barely he's trying to get his first house or trying to move the house
Right.
up because he's got a family, and he's got to deal with it.
And you think about set aside the optics, which are horrendous, but let's look at the realities here. So now we're going to have all this flood of money coming in to help those with bad credit and don't pay their bills to buy houses.
Does this sound like 2008
Leopards,
deja vu?
Stop stealing my thunder. Leopards don't change their spots. They're not going to keep paying their bills. And we're going to be back in 2008. That's exactly where I was going
With a housing crisis, just like we had that collapsed the entire economy.
And then who's going to swoop in? BlackRock and the other companies to buy up all these houses on the cheap and rent them. If this isn't planned, here we go, conspiracy theories.
We need them. Remember, we talked about
Every
that.
time,
We've run out of them because they're all true.
Everyone, yeah, we're like 43-0 on them. I mean, where's Congress on this? Both parties, by the way. Because if you're a Democrat and you're sitting there going, yeah, I support this, you're insane. Because
That's kind of like an oxymoron. Yeah,
Oxymoron, I know.
it kind of matches.
We're trying to be neutral here, Bill.
We are being neutral. I didn't call them worse than that. I said it matches. I could have used another word that would fit with there too. And
I
start
just-
with an A and rhymes with a large thing in the ground.
Bill Moore. I knew your email. I'd read it off right now.
Find me.
What?
Look for me at Full Circle Fitness.
Nope, do that. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. So.
So that's fine. That's why I gave it out.
But again, we're seeing. I'm even if it's not nefarious. Let's just say this is an honest. They're trying to do the right thing. Think it through. They are not thinking this through. Okay, so you give a bunch of people with 550 credit ratings, mortgages at $300,000. They can't afford to pay their rent now.
And 100% mortgage, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? That's to lower the down payment, take on the risk, take on the higher interest rates, and all this stuff. This is a disaster coming. And the housing crisis is already bad to begin with. They're all saying the bubble's not going to burst. My opinion is it's coming. Because
Sooner than later.
you cannot, they're trying to outbuild it in our area. Because now they're putting up more senior housing, with controlled rent. That's what they're talking about in an area close to me. And I'm sitting there going, yeah.
We've got that bridge bid cut, though, so it's not a problem.
But 12 months after they do that, they'll jack the rates up. Because why would you charge someone $1,000 a month for an apartment when you can get $3,000?
Which is
Which
what's
is
happening with all these areas. I know that down here by us, there's a small town that's putting in 2 gated apartment buildings.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah.
And both of them are going in, and the rents are going to be, you're starting at $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 a month for one.
For a 1 bedroom.
Right. Then if you
Or
want to
one-one.
add, it's a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
Add a room.
It's,
And that's without electric and all the good stuff that goes with it. That's just the
we're just talking
the cost of the
the cost
unit.
to have the roof over your head, so to speak. I wish there was more backlash from Congress on this because it is an executive order.
But unfortunately, they can surface it at the congressional level right now, but they can't do anything about it because it's a problem with executive orders.
It's an executive
and
order.
you got to have both sides of Congress to do something, and then you're going to be able to override if
Well,
you don't like
my
it.
point is that it should be both sides on this.
Or-
This is a
Find a way to get it in the courts and get it to the
well,
Supreme
that's
Court.
where I think it's going to go. So, I mean, I am not a lawyer. I don't know the legalities on this, but how do you arbitrarily come up with 750 credit rating as the number? Where did they pull that one out of? Why isn't it 700? Why isn't it 650? Why
Is it
isn't
against the Constitution, all men are created equal, being that men being a gender neutral term?
You gotta be careful there what you're saying. It's going to go to the court. I think this is going to be somewhat similar to the student loan thing. He's just putting it out there to get bonus points, knowing full
Anything to get
well.
elected again or to try.
I don't see how this holds up under equality, the Constitution. I just don't.
I'd mention RFK's name again, but Henry might just jump off
Henry
for
hasn't
something
recovered
else
from
again.
last.
We got a
week's.
word to say about that one.
But any more thoughts on that? Because I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think it's something we need to follow and keep talking about as it goes on and see how people react to it as far as government officials are concerned.
My advice is pick up your phone, open up your computer, and write some emails to your Congress people.
Right?
Senators,
All levels.
all of them. I don't care what party they're at, saying put a stop to this. Now, you're right on the, they got to pass bills and all that stuff. Make noise. That's all we need.
Well, we've said all along, as long as they're showing that they're fighting, we can accept that, knowing that we can help them at the next election.
Well,
But
the
they
other
gotta
side
show
of it
they're out
too is
there.
look at the Bud Light fiasco. That's all word of mouth. The mainstream media is not supporting that. They're
No.
hiding it.
They'll never support
It
it.
shows you how we can overcome this. So if we start saying to our congressional leaders, we want you to do something, however minor it is, it will make a difference.
Yeah, I agree.
And that starts with us. They're not going to do anything until we start
They need to
making
get
noise.
and I will tell you, if you're going to call them, which is a very effective method,
The best, probably, other
call
than meetings.
the regional office, not the White House office, not the
That's a great point
Washington
you just
D.C.
made.
Because Washington D.C. is set up to handle all this stuff, and they expect it coming in from every direction. These local regional offices, when they get overwhelmed with a bunch of phone calls, they call up to the next level and they go, "Help! We got a problem."
Yeah.
And they're the ones you can get rattled. So call your local office for your senator, your congressman, and raise some issues there. Email them. I will tell you, if you email, you're going to get an email response. A handwritten letter will probably get a better
Well,
response.
let's talk
from
about
you.
the hierarchy of how to get a response. So, first up, generally speaking, would be an email. And you're going to get an email response.
And you're going to get a form back.
And by the way, the rep is never reading that email. Just to let its aides reading it, and that's fine, right? After that is a phone call.
Phone calls are good.
Phone calls are better. Meeting in person.
Is good, but it's hard to find a place to get to them. And whether
Well,
nowadays they're not out doing a lot of
You're
town
not
halls.
again. You're not going to meet. You're not going to meet with the rep. You're going to meet with an aide.
That's
call
true.
call the office. I want to come in and talk to you about the mortgage or whatever. They will meet with you because if they get found out that they're refusing to meet, that's never going to go.
And a handwritten letter
handwritten
is
letter.
much better than an email, because if you're taking the time to write to somebody, they will take the time to answer you.
I would put a handwritten letter above a phone call.
I
As
agree.
far, below meeting, but above a phone call, because it is. If you're showing effort, it makes them take more respect out of it. A phone call is easy to do. An email is very easy to do. Saying, I want to write a letter or I want to come to your office and meet with you, that gets attention.
You see, the one that doesn't get a lot of attention is when everybody gives you a form letter
Oh, those
that
are,
you just
yeah.
write your address
Yeah.
in and you sign it and you mail it,
They're-
and it
I
goes
mean,
in the form letter pile.
They're worth something, but they're, it's a penny on a dollar.
They're
you know.
very good.
I actually remember talking to someone in the New York State legislature. He kind of put it in dollars and cents to me. He said, we get a form letter or an email, it's like worth 10 cents. We get a phone call, it's worth like 40 cents. A meeting in person is worth like 80 cents. And
You left
actually,
out the letter.
yeah, and again, it kind of the more effort you put in, the more value they're going to put to it, and the more likelihood you'll see change. Just a quick side note.
And and I will tell you, I'll give you an example. There is a senator in North Carolina who has been censured by a number of North Carolina groups for his behavior, and you are seeing changes in what he's doing. If you paid attention to the last 2 or 3 months, he is swinging very, very much to the conservative side, and he's paying attention to the fact that he would like to keep working.
So all my work is paying off, is what you're saying.
Everything you've done, they've all listened to
Oh,
you.
by the way, posting on Facebook, you're wasting your time.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even the aides don't even read
Or
that.
tweeting.
They don't read those. All right, those aren't even the aides reading them. It's some intern, if they even do that. So, but anyway, side note.
So anyway,
All right,
are we done with that one?
beat that horse to death.
Yeah,
Next,
we've done. We want to talk a little bit about that
I wanna go-
Marine in
yeah.
New York.
I took over the show, so now we'll go back to you. Let's talk about the Marine in New York.
I thought you should introduce this.
No, I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay, there was a Marine in New York. You're on.
There's a few Marines. So
And
there's a little
to do
kerfuffle.
kerfuffle. Now there's a word I haven't heard in a while. Kerfuffle
There was as a mite of a little kerfuffle
on a subway, I believe.
on the sub. I believe so. Trying to put this in ways that we're not going to get in trouble for it.
There is none.
Yeah, there were some issues with how it was handled. How's that?
There were some issues in what started it also.
Well, that too. Do tell the audience.
A gentleman was misbehaving and giving people grief.
Misbehaving. Good way to put it. Well done. I give you credit on that one.
That keeps us off the ban list yet, but I'm working on it. And several people went over and frankly, from what I understand, it was a combination of mixed groups, a black guy, a white guy,
Yep.
a Hispanic gentleman went over to stop it. And this troublemaker, if you will, got into a battle with the white gentleman that was there, and he was a Marine, and he took him down and put him in a submission hold.
He took care of business.
Yeah, but the way it's being portrayed is he put him in a chokehold, which is totally wrong. It was not a chokehold. He was put in a submission hold.
Yeah,
basically, if you can put some pressure on your carotid arteries, in 10 or 15 seconds, you will probably black out.
I know how to do it to somebody.
Yeah, and whereas a chokehold, you're actually cutting off the air. But it looks very similar because you're coming around the arm.
Yeah, well, so when you're doing it, because I have this training, I'm sure you had it in the military, didn't you? Yeah. You get this part of your elbow is over the throat, so it's not choking them.
Right.
But
But
your
the pressure's on
forearm
either
and your
side.
other side are on right here, which cuts the blood flow off
And
to
you
the
should
brain,
pass out.
and they pass out.
And so then at that point, you need to release it.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Because
And-
you'll kill them if you didn't.
And
but-
whatever happened, the gentleman died. The troublemaker died. And now there are some people like AOC, for example. And I have several choices for what AOC
Hey, did you
stands
notice
for.
that she got bigger boobs?
I am
It
not
was on Twitter.
going there. I am just
She
leaving.
can't afford an apartment in Washington on her $180,000 a year salary, but suddenly, anyway, go on.
I've-
Well, she's trying.
I'm in trouble here.
The problem she has is her IQ is below her bra size, so she figures if she increases the bra size, it would help.
This is not me, ladies and gentlemen. I want my producer to know I'm innocent on this one.
She's beat red over there.
But so she's of course yelling that he's a murderer,
Of
and
course.
why hasn't he been arrested and pulled off to jail and shot and then tried?
And what color is his skin again?
He would be white.
Oh, white.
Okay, and unfortunately, but I will give some credit, at least currently, to the current mayor, who
Eric, whatever his
Adams.
name is. Yeah.
who actually came out and said, "Now let's not be hasty here. Let's find out all the facts before we make a decision as to what actually happened." Now that was a good statement. The problem with Mr. Adams or Mayor Adams is he's been known to flip on a dime with enough pressure.
Enough pressure?
Like-
Any pressure.
That's enough. I'm done.
I was going to say,
And
that,
you know-
little tap.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
And he'll flip over depending when public pressure comes in. He'll deal with it. But the man was defending himself. Now, did it go too far? I don't know. But what people do not realize is it was not murder; it was homicide. And there are homicides that are justifiable.
Okay.
So just because the man died from homicide doesn't mean he was murdered. It means he died. Now, is it justified homicide? Is it manslaughter, which is a type of homicide? But again,
that's the probable charge I've heard.
but it's not murder. Murder is generally
not premeditated.
premeditated.
Yeah, it's gotta be
And
premeditated.
second degree is just you've gone nuts and you did it, basically.
And they'll probably try. Well, they're going to try him on manslaughter. You can see it coming, and it'll be labeled a hate crime, of course, because he happens to be white. Funny how though, when it goes the other way, it's never a hate crime.
It's earned.
It's like, yeah. I was watching. What the heck was I watching? There was a video. All the guy was doing was taking newspaper articles and just the titles on them. What the editors put in, not what the writers put. And how they spun it. So if it was a white person doing something to a black person, they specified it. This white person did blah, blah, blah. If it was the other way around, it was the suspect. And he showed literally hundreds of these. It was just a rolling video.
Well, there are, and it's following what you're talking about, they have played audios from various stations, if you will, police activities, who will not describe the culprit. The culprit is a male in a pair of jeans and a blue shirt. I read that one right down, didn't we?
That
So
means-
especially in the
that means
city. Yeah. And
my shirt's a
we're
little
not
blue.
going to mention race. We're not going to mention color of anything. So how do you get a description out to deal with he or she that's doing this operation? It's ridiculous.
They're turning us into Portland.
God help us.
Well, Portland's dying by the day. New York City's not. I know somebody who's just in New York City, and they were saying they cannot believe what they saw.
Well, it's just like going to San Francisco.
they were in New York City in the 70s, and you know what that was like.
But
Better
there-
than I do, even.
Yes, I was there.
They say it's worse. That's saying something.
That is pushing it.
They said they have felt more fear now than they did then. Now, mind you, again, know better than I do, but being on the subway in the 70s, you were taking your life in your hand.
Absolutely, and you bring into an interesting story with that, because I was listening coming over to Dan Bongino, and he was talking about exactly that in the 70s, and then what was going on. Then all of a sudden, Rudy Giuliani came in,
Yeah.
and he started, for want of a better term, the broken window theory. Except in the subway, it was let's get the people jumping the turnstiles and arrest them. And guess what? Those people that were criminals were generally not paying to get on the subway.
Shocking.
They were actually jumping over and going and doing their thing and leaving that way. So by arresting them, crime suddenly in the subways took a major drop. And Bongino was saying even at night, it became safe to ride at night on a lonely train because the guys weren't
Oh,
getting
yeah.
in there.
I mean, the last time I was in New York City was 2017.
Is that a time that was in the early 1600s?
No, that was back when you were a
Just
teenager,
middle-aged. right.
Teenager.
Thank you.
I had no fear walking around New York City 5, 6, 7, well, it's probably 6 years ago, actually. It's 2016. So 6 to 7 years ago, I had no problem. My wife was with me too. No fear.
Well, she
none.
could defend anybody.
But, she may only be 4 feet tall, but you don't want to mess with her. Like a rabid Wolverine.
I didn't say that, Lori.
I did.
That was not me either.
Now, I mean, I haven't been there, but I have no fear anyway. But you would think if my friend was saying that, it's changed. And how sad is that? Because New York City's great. I'm an upstater. We look down on New York City because
Anybody north of the Bronx is an
yeah.
upstater.
There's a whole state above New York City. Most people don't realize that, and most of it's red.
Actually, no, you have to add Westchester to New York City.
Yeah.
It's kind of the blue line. The red line starts above Westchester.
But now it's becoming San Francisco East.
Now, you know what we need to do now?
Do tell.
We're going to switch to something positive.
Okay.
And I'm positive that everything going wrong is wrong.
I was
But
gonna
no.
say okay. Here we go.
But anyway,
Do tell.
you talked about a little about Supreme Courts and things a little bit while ago. And I'm going to point out some of the great things that have come out in the North Carolina Supreme Court.
Oh,
And let's look at all those good things. Remember, just a few years ago, it was 6-1 Democratic, and now it's 5-2
5-2 the
Republican,
opposite, yep.
and it's soon to be 6-1 after this election in 2024. Not that I'm predicting that.
I was
what's going
going to
to
say
happen.
he's calling it now. On May 5th.
Right, and it's already over. It's just a matter of counting the
So why
ballots.
even bother having an election?
Well, I agree. We'll just point in there. We'll go with that one. That's fine, and we'll let the party make the decision. That's fine. But anyway, this week,
That would be socialism.
that's how we picked a sheriff.
No.
Yes, and that's how we picked a county commissioner in your county.
Go on.
Okay, so anyway, the good news from the Supreme Court from North Carolina passed 3 major decisions this week.
Big rulings.
One, we're getting voter ID finally. And they've actually announced it's happening this year in the munis.
After 80% of the people voted favor. Actually, it's
60 some odd percent did
2/3.
pass
Let's go
for
with
a
2/3.
constitutional amendment to do that. Mm-hmm. And then some fools and Democratic fools who were running the North
So
Carolina
neutral.
Supreme Court when it was 4-3 decided that the new constitutional amendment was unconstitutional. It's tough to do, but they managed it, but now it's been reversed.
And what was the vote on that?
By some instance, 5-2. I don't understand along party lines.
Right smack down the line.
Yeah, you'd think. And those same 2 that were there when they did it the other way stayed with their beliefs. But what's nice about it, something I didn't realize until just this week, because a question was asked at a meeting I was at, can they go back to the federal courts and try to delay this? And it turns out that
Good point.
there is a case up there,
As I
but-
said, there's a case pending right now.
but there's one up there, but it doesn't look like it's going to
I
stop
thought
everything
the
right now.
Supreme Court decided not to hear it because of this.
I haven't heard that, but it looks
I-
like
I thought I did. I could
we're
be wrong.
getting voter ID back, and it's back in place, and it's running hard because even the Board of Elections has put out the word that it will be in this election this year. So
And again, we've talked about it before. Everyone who's going to vote can get an ID. If you don't have one, you can go get it for free.
you living in a cave somewhere underneath,
Yeah, I mean,
underground.
this-
you need a voter ID you need an ID to walk down the street.
You can't drive without an ID.
Can't get medicine.
You can't get a cell phone without an ID because the big carriers want your driver's license to prove you are who you are.
Try to cash a check.
Try and cash a check. I mean, we could go on. And
Nowadays,
on.
you can't even make a cash deposit without an ID.
There is, again, are there people that might not have an ID? Sure.
But they're living in the caves underground that
And
haven't been dug up yet.
Like
And we'll get to them.
South Carolina, actually, Nikki Haley was talking about this. They put a program in place. If you don't have an ID, we'll help you go get it.
And we have it here too.
7 people. I think it was the number they threw out. 7.
Well, I think the favorite one was the guy when they first had this battle in North Carolina about the ID, and they had hearings, of course, because that's what Democrats
Because we
do
have
well.
to have hearings.
So they
yeah.
brought a guy in who explained to the our General Assembly that for him to go to get an ID from the local DMV was a 27-mile drive, and that was too far. But he drove 100 miles to tell people that at the General Assembly. So that made all the sense in the world. That was just great. So anyway, that's number one that they did very
And
well.
that's a big one.
Yes.
But
Number two is probably more important. They ruled that these courts have no business dealing with how the districts are drawn up for
I
voting.
thought you were going to go to the other one first. But okay, good on this one.
Yeah. So, and in that, and that's one of the things I learned the other night too. The Supreme Court 5 years ago on the federal level ruled that they have no control over gerrymandering for
Right.
mapping.
So we're talking about redistricting.
Right.
For
So,
what, yeah.
so what we're going to see now is, my guess is we're not going to see redistricting until the June or July in North Carolina because they're going to be spending the next few months getting the budget done, and that's going to be priority.
Right.
Getting it through Cooper, if he'll come out of his basement and come up and say hi.
Who?
Cooper,
Milk toast.
He's been cooped.
Milk toast.
Yeah, he's fine. He's
He's been put in a coop.
yeah,
at
he's
this point.
cooped. So and then like we've talked before, if he doesn't sign it, they've got the votes to override it anyway. I will tell you this though, and this is a side gender on that. For those of you, and I don't remember the lady's name, the woman's name who was a representative, who switched over from
Oh, the one from Wake County.
yeah from Charlotte to be precise.
Yeah.
She went over. She is taking a beating from the media like you've never seen.
Of course she is.
She's the cause of everything happening. So, the fact that 3 other Democrats on the House, on the General Assembly side, and 1 other senator in the state side have also crossed over, that doesn't count. This woman changed parties, so she's taking the blame, and she's getting beaten up terribly.
Well, it's kind of like you're seeing it in the Senate too. Manchin and the one from Arizona,
Kristen.
Cinema.
Cinema, flipped.
So
They're now basic. I mean, they're still Democrats, but she's an independent now, right?
she went independent.
But they're what do they call it? Caucusing with the Republicans more and more. Not totally, but they're seeing the writing on the wall.
Well, the more radical they go, the more people
Exactly.
are actually waking
So-
up and seeing an issue.
I mean, the redistricting is a big thing.
But you know what's going to end up happening, and this is the interesting.
Okay.
Because on that last maps that went out, they pretty much balanced those maps, so it was like 6, 7 as far as the 14th congressional districts, and 1 up, toss up. They got now carte blanche to rewrite them.
And you're probably looking at what 12-4.
And-
Was there? No, it's 14 seats, right?
And the other thing I've heard that they're actually going to rewrite the Senate and the House of the House's maps too. They're going to redraw the whole package.
So North Carolina on the federal level, 14.
14.
14. So they were going to be like 7-7 or something close
7,
to that.
6 and a toss-up.
Something like that.
And
right?
a toss up. It's
You're
probably
probably
going to go. You maybe 8 or 9 to 3.
11-5.
Yeah, whatever it's going to be.
12-4. I mean,
They're going to now rewrite it, and they're also going to go back and they're going to look at the Senate, state Senate, and the state representatives and redraw those maps. So, and nothing's going to happen from it. So, they're going to go. Someone's going to run and get a judge to get a stay.
Oh, they'll be
and
in
then
the courts again.
they're going to get it overruled, and they'll fast track it up to the feds, up to the state, and they're going to get it
the
changed.
Supreme Court has already federal Supreme Court is already saying, look, this is not our
Our
area.
bailiwick.
Yeah, so
But that means they can still try to go back to the state Supreme
course
Court.
they're gonna still
But they
try.
know they're going to lose.
they're going to lose that.
So it's a delay tactic, and that's all it is.
And that's what they're counting on, much like they did with voter ID.
But
They knew they were going to lose it, so
and that'll have to be out, and that probably will not be out till August.
the redistricting.
Right.
Yeah,
Because you got to remember, in December is the filing for all those positions.
right.
So people have to have time to figure out what's going on.
Who's going to run where, basically.
Yeah, and what they're going to go. So
Right.
I'm looking at that. The third thing was on felons. Would you like to deal with that one?
No, go ahead. I thought you were going to go somewhere else. There's another thing out there.
Okay.
Go ahead, do your felons. Oh, you might
In
not be aware
North
of
Carolina, they
this. You know?
had passed a law that if a felon came out of prison and he was still on
Right.
probation or he still owed restitution, they could then get a right to vote. And I've heard numbers to include up to 80,000 people in the last election, and I don't know how valid that is, to be honest. But they've now passed something that said, no, you have to finish whatever your probation is before you can put in a request to get the right to vote back again. So if you got 2 years probation, you have to finish that probation. If you owe money, you have to handle the restitution, and then you can apply back to get that. And there is one more thing we'll call it there in a minute, but I'll see which one of you would like. You want to do yours first?
Well, let me talk about the felon thing first.
Okay,
Because
yes.
I have a little bit of mixed feelings on that. So my feeling is if you commit, let's call it a high-level felony, murder, R, that type of stuff, you should never be voting again. Sorry. Period. End of discussion. Somebody does a white-collar felony, okay, do the restitution and all that. I don't agree with giving any felon the opportunity. Sorry.
Well, that's you're
It's
entitled.
certain levels. You know, there are certain lines, you cross those, you're done.
Okay. And
period.
What's your fourth thing that you heard?
So did you hear about the new House and Senate bill being passed about abortion?
I heard that was coming up. Yes, I
That's
heard
the
that
one
might
I
be
thought
out
you
there.
were going to go
No,
with.
I haven't gotten there yet. Now,
That
what's the
one's
law?
pretty big. So North Carolina, through the House and Senate, has determined that it's going to be 12 weeks.
Oh, I hadn't heard that number.
That's the number,
The word I'd heard was 15 was going to happen.
12.
That's a little tight.
So
15 to me
So
works.
we've had discussions on this, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure where I feel on it. So I did a little research this week. 68%, I think, was the number of Americans support. I don't want to say approve. Support first trimester only, or that
Which
area.
is the first 12 weeks.
12 weeks. So looking at it that way, me being more libertarian side than you, I could buy into the 12 weeks based on just that.
Yeah, but and the reason I don't go there, because, and again, without getting into the period side of the house, which is a woman's issue, those who identify as a woman included, some women have 6 and 7 week cycles. It's not always 4 weeks as is traditional. So, they may not miss their second period or later. It may be too late for them. That's why I think 15 weeks is safe.
Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I can support this decision in my mind. Not because of like what you're saying, but because that's the will of the people. And that's my belief. If they've actually surveyed, and again, I don't know how valid these surveys are, but the research that I was showing was pretty consistent. That roughly, I'll round it to 2/3.
They took all the votes at a Planned Parenthood meeting.
Yeah, but the majority of Americans support first trimester, which is 12 weeks. I can live with that. You could go to
we talked about the
15.
6 weeks last week, and that was
Yeah,
my concern.
6 weeks is ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'll never support that. On the other side of it, I can't 20 and above. No, I can't support that anymore.
And you're still going to have people that are not going to be happy with 12-6 or
There's
they
gonna
want
be-
0. But that's
Yeah,
just
there's going to be the people that are
Pro-lifers.
0, or there's the people that 38 weeks. Now we're going to go out to 38 years at some point.
any up to 12 years old you can take them out.
But the majority in the middle, I can kind of live with this one.
Well-
Cooper's already said he's going to veto it.
That's fine.
So it's going to go back, and he's going to get overridden, hopefully.
I think they will.
I hope they stick to this one. And again, I get your point on the 15. I don't quibble that.
Have both houses agreed to that? Because
My understanding is it's gone through both.
Yeah, I knew that because
The House definitely. And
Thursday
then,
was crossover day.
actually, if you could look it up real quick. We have a producer. We might as well.
Put her to work. Go ahead, tell her that.
You know, 'cause
Go
I was
ahead, tell her
looking-
that you're going to finally make her
I
do
was
something.
looking at this morning, but I
You got
had
no points at all
I had
today.
done some research prior to the week because I was like, because we had the discussion, and I'm like, what do most people think? Because you hear one side, you hear the other. Everybody agrees
Yeah,
it
but-
should be
Yeah,
100%.
but you got to also remember, to be fair, I don't
polls are-
believe in polls, no
yeah,
matter
yeah,
which
well.
side they come out, because it depends where you ask them and what you ask and who you ask.
But, and I agree with you on polls, but thinking this through and kind of taking that number and applying it to the people I know and have talked to about this issue, 2/3 is about it. Where that seems to be where it falls with the people
All
I
right,
know.
I will let you.
So
have that one.
I can kind of buy into it. You might say, oh, it's only 60, or you might say it's 8. I don't care. The majority of people in some form are okay with it, limited. And there are the exceptions for the standard
For rape
exceptions.
and
Yeah.
incest and all that kind of stuff. I said the R word. I'm sorry.
You got us in
I shouldn't
trouble.
say rape.
I'll put a little no. This video will now not shown anywhere. I'll have to bleep that out, which I can.
So what's the question?
Which the bill on the 12-week abortion? Has it
North
gotten through the
Carolina
Senate?
General Assembly abortion
Yeah.
bill,
Both through
The
both.
House and the Senate.
Yep.
He's-
and it is 12 weeks.
So it's up for veto right now. by
Yeah, so
Cooper.
Cooper's
He
got
says-
it.
He says he's going to veto.
And he already announced. I mean, I actually saw him say he was going to veto it.
Can he spell it? That's a real problem.
Okay, no, he can spell. We may not agree with him, but he's not an idiot.
No, we don't agree now.
No, stop.
You know something? There's a difference between education and common sense.
I didn't say he had common sense, but he's not an idiot in the sense of no brains. He's not Biden.
If brains were dynamite, the man could not blow his nose.
Give him a little bit. A little.
We're not. I won't go there. I am not going there. You left an opening a mile wide. I'm not going to that one.
Oh, go for it. You already got us in trouble.
I would never do that. But one other positive thing I'll throw in here.
Okay.
If you may not be aware of it, but the General Assembly is also working on a constitutional amendment to limit early voting to 7 days.
That one I have no knowledge of.
I'm giving you some information today.
7 days.
7 days versus
What is
the
it?
17 now.
As it says 2 weeks now. Or
17 days plus election day.
I don't know if I agree with the 7. I'm going to be honest with you. Why not keep it at 17? What's the negative to it? Cost.
First of all, it's cost.
Cost to be, yeah.
Secondly, it's just too long. I mean, if people want to vote, they need to have some sort of responsibility to go out and vote. I can understand you may get sick that day, you may be going away, but you've got options. You've got absentee ballots. You can call in if you're not going to be around.
So here's my argument why it should be longer. So last year, I've done early voting. I moved here in 2019. I did early voting every year until last year. So I didn't vote till election day last year. I had every intention of getting early voting. I never did it. It was an hour and a half in line with early voting at 17 days.
You're leading into some great idea I have coming up.
So I really don't have a problem with it being 17. I get the cost side. I'll give you that. I have to give you
You
that one.
also have what ends up happening is it gives people time to deliver people to vote. And I hate to say that. We want everyone to have a chance to vote who can vote, but when
got a
you've got
point.
situations,
You got a point.
it's just too long, and if you want to vote or you can't get it done in 8 days, then you got an issue.
Do you think that reducing it by the 9 days, give or take, is going to reduce them delivering votes?
No, but it also saves a bunch of money.
That
and
I'll
it
give you.
also-
I'm gonna
It
agree.
also
No quibble on that.
You've got days out there where people are looking at each other for most of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So collapse it a little bit and put some pressure on it and get people to vote. And look, if I had my way, it would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're done. And
I've
that's
heard that proposal before too.
and I would support that, even though I think,
Okay.
just because election day, we've come from a state that did election day up till 2 years ago, just one day.
You
That
had
was
one
it.
day. That was it.
it. And the lines were humongous.
See, my quibble with the whole election process is the votes coming in after the mail-ins and all that. I would rather see them say, what is it, 7:30 in North Carolina is the final?
Yeah, that's the last day at 7:30.
7:30. 7:30, 1 p.m., your vote comes in, it does not
Well,
count.
actually, for mail-in, it's 5 o'clock.
Okay, but that's still within the, whatever time that day.
But they also have 3 days afterwards.
No, that's got to go.
Because of the mail situation.
Nope. I don't buy that one. That's bullshit.
What they're saying is if your
Nope.
if your mailing was stamped on by before 5 o'clock that day, then you have 3 days to get it there.
My argument is it's got to be received by election day.
No, I'm not arguing with you. But
Because, I'm sorry, your point that you made, you've got enough time to vote. If you're going to do a mail-in vote, you can mail it the Friday before.
no guarantee the post office will get
That's
it.
on.
See,
That's
and
the risk you're taking.
Yeah, and the other side of that postal issue, and this is a fact that, because I followed very closely the 22 elections in our county, almost 10% of the ballots that were delivered by the post office to the headquarters to be counted weren't stamped.
It's down to 4 days now. Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Oh, that's the proposal now? 4 days.
Okay,
Okay.
even better.
Which is the one you mentioned.
See, I'm so bright, my mother calls me son.
Oh, okay. Oof. If it wasn't for bad puns, you wouldn't have any puns.
Rapunzel,
I just,
throw down your hair.
my viewpoint is it should be election day is it. If it's not received, too bad, so sad. And you tell people that. Does it make a difference, Bill, whether you set the deadline on election day on Tuesday or they have till Friday to get it in? Why?
Because you can't trust the post office, frankly.
No.
And that'll get a lot of people
Okay,
upset.
so what happens
but that's
if
a
you
reality.
mail it on 5 o'clock Tuesday, but it doesn't get received till Saturday?
Look, I'm going to give you an example of mailing, okay? And in our
Oh, the
county,
post office is a joke, let's be honest.
we mailed a 60 some odd people a letter,
Mm-hmm.
10 days, just give them a 10-day notice about a meeting, okay, by our bylaws. And at our meeting a week before, it turned out 5 people never received the letter.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
So we then remailed that letter the next day. 3 of those 5 people received both letters the same day. And my executive producer was there. We know what happened.
But you get my point. No matter what deadline you give, you could make the
It's
argument.
never gonna be perfect.
It's never going to work.
It's
So,
never gonna be perfect.
Make it election day.
Now, you led me into a perfect because what I'm now championing is a
Championing.
complete champion.
Okay.
But anyway, my teeth are falling out there. You know, I don't even go there. And they're all mine. You want to put your finger in my mouth and check it
No,
out?
I do not.
Okay. But anyway, the idea of voting centers. And we've been working on it.
Did you have your meeting?
I'm actually presenting this at the
Okay.
state level
All right.
on the 20th.
Okay.
But voting centers are an interesting change in direction for voting. And I would like to see North Carolina go there. You know, the idea of precincts goes back 100 years when you could walk in and you would say, "Hi, I'm Bill Moore." And you say, "No, you're not. You're Dan somebody," because you live down the street from me. You know, and nowadays you got people sitting there, they have no idea who's coming in the front door. So that out the door. You add to it early voting, where for 17 days right now, you can go to any one of the 5 places, regardless where you're from, and vote. And then on election day, you got to go to the one place that you're assigned to.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening, a great number of people show up saying, "I'm here to vote," and you say, "Oh, no, you're in the wrong place." So they got 2 choices. They either A, get in their car and go to the right place, and some of them don't, okay, or B, they can fill out a provisional ballot, which that station does not always include everything you could have voted at your other place, because you live in different. If you live in different
'cause
parts
it's
of the
different,
county
right.
for General Assembly, for example, you got 2 different people, so you won't get the right ballot. If you're in an area that's got a ballot or a bond issue, and you're in a different place, you may not get to vote on that. So you're going to get a partial vote at best. If on the other hand you turn around, and you take the early voting idea, and if in our county, for example, there are 5 early voting sites versus 27 precinct sites. Just picking a number, so you set up 18 to 20 early voting sites on election day. So anybody on those days can go to any one of those 18 places or 20 places and vote. You don't have to go by precinct. Now, the first answer is, can you run from place to place and place to vote? Well,
Yeah, you talked about this before. There's a time frame, right?
every half hour that computer uploads who's there, and you get a list back. You get a computer gets the answer back that these people have already voted. So you can't, unless you got a real fast car, you can run from place to place, and they have ways of checking that it'll come out anyway. But that solves a lot of issues. You know, provisional ballots get cut back. No one's now walking in and saying you got to go to a different place, and you save money because you've saved 5 or 7 sites. You're paying for people to be there.
Does it affect anything as far as getting the tally counted?
No, tally doesn't change.
That's the point I wanted to make. Because now I'm going to go somewhere.
Let me tell you where to go.
So, would you say
I'm being good.
20, 30, 40 years ago, most people trusted the election?
Yes.
And it was standard. You only had election day to vote. We're old enough to remember you had to go flick the lever on the machine, no paper ballots or
You were using a crayon and
being
everything.
read in or all this other crap.
Yes, sir.
The more they've tried to improve the process, the worse they've made it. Why don't we go back to election day only with those machines?
Though actually, they've done away with the machines in most places. Now they're using paper ballots.
Why?
Because you can't play around with a paper ballot and screw around with it.
Oh, well, hell you can't. Bill, it's got to be scanned into a machine. You think people can't play with those machines?
Machines are purposely kept off the
Okay.
internet.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. We'll disagree on that one too.
All you
And
need
then everything is downloaded to
you don't
encrypted
even
disks.
all you need's
and sticks.
all you need's a programmer ahead of time in that computer who set it up. Yeah, I'm talking about Dominion. I'm going to get us thrown off the air.
Or mandatory audits.
I just firmly believe that, in the sense that here's an example of the more we try and improve things, the worse we make it. Nobody
Yeah,
trusts the election process anymore.
Look what happened a few years ago because they're the electronic balloting. You flick the switches in the machine, and they
Forget-
had proven in many sites that you checked this person and voted for that person.
I'm not talking electronic. I'm talking about the old school, like when I first started to vote, it was.
You pointed at a picture when you voted, and they gave you the credit for the picture.
You first voted, it was by stone tablet. Who we kidding?
Ooh. One for your side. You get that one. I'll give you
But
that
you
one.
get my point with it all, right?
Yes.
My point, forgetting the different types of voting or the ways to do it, the more they try and fix it, the worse it's getting. People do not trust the election process anymore.
No, and
Both sides, by the way.
it's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
And people are making dumb mistakes to make it worse.
And my point with all this is if you don't trust the election process, either side, you're never going to trust whoever comes out the winner. And that's fracturing the country even more.
Yeah,
I hear your points. They're all great. I'm not disagreeing with you. But at some point, we got to go, this is the process. We're done. Because that's what it was back in the day. You may not have liked it, but by midnight, generally, you knew who was elected of election day. Now, we're into December sometimes. I mean, it's absurd. Because, this state, you got 3 days. The next state, you got 3 weeks. Insane. We don't know who's president. Inauguration day is January 20th. We're getting to the point where it's going to be January 19th and they still don't know.
They may have to go back to the March date that was initially with them.
Exactly.
Before we had the wonderful ability, we'd have the horse-drawn carriages to get there.
We need to grow a set and say, this is the date. Your vote has to be in. It's going to be counted that date, period. And then just go with it. Because the whole process, I get all that. But my concern is the lack of trust in the process. It's gone. I don't trust the election process
Well, I will tell
at
you,
all.
I will tell you that we were very fortunate in where we lived in that basically we were able to prove in the last 2 years that the process works for us. However, they've made some dumb mistakes with decisions they've made, which have now brought it back into question. And honestly, I will tell you, they're not going to change what they're doing, and they're really not wrong. But it's the perception that's the issue, not the reality.
But whether it's perception or reality is irrelevant. If it's the result of that, perception is reality, right? So we need to get the trust back in the process because without it, the country's
Well, how do you
done.
do that?
I honestly don't know the answer to that. I think The first thing that I would say, and that's why I keep bringing it up, is election day is it. That's the day, and we're going to tabulate. If we're shutting the polls in North Carolina at 7:30, in New York it's 9, in other states it's all over the place, right? Whatever time that is, that's it. If your vote's not in, whether it's mailed, absentee, any of that stuff, that's it. We're going to count the votes starting at that time. When the count is done, that's it.
You see, but the problems you have.
That's the first step.
Your first problem you have is when you got to go through absentee ballots and validate.
But
Did they meet all the requirements?
Again, we need to, that should be a check in place. So if you do the election, right, and Bill Moore wins by 80%,
That low, huh?
all right, do we really need to worry about, is every absentee ballot perfect? In general, I'm not talking about legally.
From the viewpoint that a person needs to feel that their vote was counted. We do. From that viewpoint.
But I think the average person would go, he won by, 80% is a landslide, right? You're not going to find that many votes. I'm sorry.
You can in the ballot box.
Now, if it's 50-50, okay, then we're going to do it. But hallelujah, she agrees with me.
Or she thinks you're Adolf.
But you're going to have that cutoff. Now, if you need to, all right, we're going to announce, clamshell is the winner of the vote. We're going to verify it afterward. Okay, but at least we have a winner.
Yeah, but you can't.
Now there's so much ambiguity.
You can't announce a winner without verifying a winner because suppose you're wrong. Look at Truman. Yeah, look at
1948.
Truman.
I was just going to say.
Exactly. Everybody thought that Dewey won the election, but till the facts came out.
But in the end, did the right thing happen?
And they gave it to them in the end. They did.
I just think if you want to build the trust back, that's the first step. That's my first step. You got to get rid of this ambiguity because what's setting people off, it goes back to 2000 with the Chads, the hanging Chads and all that crap. I mean, did Gore win that election? Did Bush win it? Who knows at this point? It's irrelevant, but who knows? There are people on one side, there are people on the other.
Well,
I'm in the I don't give a shit.
On the positive side, when Gore lost, he would not have invented the internet.
No, he invented it beforehand.
Okay.
1991, I think, is what he said, which is interesting because DARPA was around in the 80s. But anyway, you get my point with it, though. We've got to come up with something. There's no perfect solution, but that's the first step. Is we're going to have a hard, fast time where we can say to you by Wednesday or Thursday after the election, this is who we think won. Not
Well, right now in North Carolina, they certify 3 days after the election.
I'm not just talking at the state level. I'm talking across the country.
Yeah, but you got to remember, the states have the right to control their voting, and you don't want to make it all a federal thing because then you're in real trouble.
No, but I think the states could
They
come
could-
together
And guidelines are
and
appreciated.
say, all right, we're all going to agree that it's this, whatever it is.
And if they're blue and red, you're never going to get them to agree.
Well, you do a constitutional convention, 38. That's it. 38 votes. This is what it's going to be. Doesn't matter.
And they've been trying to get that.
Well, again,
You know-
I get all you're saying, but what we keep doing what we're doing, the country's done.
I don't disagree with you. The issue is we've got to find something that we agree on to make it happen. So I think
Okay.
this is a step in the right direction with voting centers versus precincts to kind of eliminate some of the peripheral issues about people voting.
Okay.
And is
good
it
talk,
perfect?
though, right?
No.
No, there's nothing
But-
perfect.
Well,
Oh, I knew he was going to go there.
I was going to beg to differ on that one, but I'm too modest.
Well, we'll go back to the sergeants in the army are the perfect ones. On that note, I shut him up.
No, she's giving you the evil eye. I don't think that was 2 minutes. But anyway, I think
didn't
we've
give you the
covered a
1
lot
minute
of good.
sign.
Any little quickies you want to throw out there for a minute?
Oh man. Well, it's fun seeing Portland fall apart. Just a quick one on that.
But that's like Rome
I mean,
collapsing.
it
It's
is
been-
like-
it's over decades.
San Francisco's one thing. Portland's taking it to a whole new level. That city is just utterly done. Now they're mad because a co-op is closing.
Well, they haven't yet figured out that all the businesses might be leaving because there's more going out the door
Exactly.
by be stolen
They can't
than
make money.
then people were.
Well, who are they mad
buying.
at? Are they mad at the people doing
No,
the
it's the
stealing?
stores leaving
No, it's
because
the
they should hang in there and support
It's a
this.
co-op. If a co-op can't survive, which is, oh, by the way, owned by the neighborhood it's in.
But just remember those numbers from New York City: 327 people responsible for 6,000 thefts from stores. So it's
there's
a core
gangs.
group.
It is gang.
It's a core group.
But again, they're mad at Walmart in Chicago for closing because they're losing their shirt. Why are you mad at Walmart?
Because you don't want to hold the politicians accountable.
Bingo.
Oh, bingo! I won.
Sure. Anything else you would like to add?
I'd like to say, glad you came and joined us at Reclaiming America. And you're going to close laughing too?
You're the one laughing. You got
We're
me
looking
laughing.
forward to you joining us on many, many platforms.
Yeah, we're up. So we're up on Spotify now. So if you don't want to watch us on YouTube, and why the hell not? No. So you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Spotify because we're up on video on Spotify. We are audio only on Apple. We've got TikTok starting to roll, although that's in its infancy. What am I forgetting? Anything? Facebook, although we got to tweak that a little bit. So we're starting to grow.
Yes, we
So
definitely
you can
are.
be following us in millions of places. Hey, we want your comments though. So
And we do come to speak at various organizations, and our fees are very cheap. So just sign us up.
well, you
and
would
we'll
have
be-
to pay people to listen to you. But anyway. Oh, there it is. Check out my last video when he did that. See what happened. He doesn't know what I did.
No, I haven't seen that last one yet. I saw the first one, not the second.
If you've watched this far, you know you liked it. So give us a like. Even if you didn't like it, give us a like anyway. We
And-
like dislikes, by the way, because you know what? When you dislike, it actually counts more for the algorithm than a like does, I heard.
Really?
Yeah, because now you're stirring things up. Comments are always welcome. We want to hear your thoughts on these issues.
And if you got any suggestions for what we should be discussing, please put it in the
Or if you want
comments.
to tell us to shut up, we're okay with that.
And if you're upset
And
that
subscribe.
Henry's left us, we're working on getting him
kind of
back.
hiding out back there. And don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, follow. If you're on Apple, follow. You know all the stuff. Blah, blah, blah.
And anyway, we'll be back. So see you soon on Reclaiming America.
Have a good one, everybody.